News Talk 580, WTAG. The Jordan Levy Show continues on News Talk 580, WTAG.
All right, friends, we're back, and our friends are here from the Seven Hills Tea Party. Bonnie Johnson, Lorraine Foster, and Kim Shepard is a realtor. Who are you with, Lorraine? Caldwell Banker. Okay, you might as well give them a plug because she's been nice enough to help people in their abatements and their values and all of these things. And you've got this whole thing laid out here. She's got her mortgage plan. She's got her plot plan. She's got there's no flies on you.
No, and I don't want any to be.
Nah, you're fine. You're fine. You're a lovely lady, so we're happy to have you up here. All right. So we know what the difficulty is, and the disparaging values that people have, and the confusion. And another problem I had is that I really think the city should have done some notification of people and explaining that there's been a change in values. We found discrepancies in your property. There's dormer on your home. It was not picked up before. Whoever's right and wrong here, we can argue that point out, but not just send out a tax bill and have all of this stuff hit the fan. People don't know. Some people are on fixed income. Suddenly they find themselves in a position that they're substantially higher than everybody else in the neighborhood. I really don't think that's really a good way to do business. So even in the old revaluation days when I came to office, matter of fact, I came to office because they sent out notifications that were all wrong. And they had like triple values on the pieces of property, and we all went nuts, and we all went to City Hall. And that's how a lot of us got involved at that time when we were never involved before. So what I'd like you to tell us, Bonnie, you went to the council last night, and why did you go? I understand she has a problem, and other people have problems, but what drove you to the council last night?
Well, one of the things was that Mrs. Foster had requested, as part of the abatement process, especially when she got the denial, because we thought we had supported her position very well, that she only had 1,500 square feet, not 2,400, and yet they denied. And then when Mrs. Foster called and talked with Assessor Ford, and he told her he was going to get her one way or the other, she asked if he would be willing to come out and reevaluate her property, which is part of the assessor's job. He refused. Blanket refused. So we filed, as part of the Worcester Seven Hills Tea Party, we filed 12 abatements. Only one person has heard back, and that is Lorraine Foster, and hers was given a partial. We wanted to be proactive and alert the council that this was happening and try to make sure that the assessor did his job. Because once it's been now that Lorraine's has been denied, her options, she has to spend $100 to go into Boston and file for, a
Well, she's going to stay in the public tax board.
Yeah, but it's $100 more that she doesn't have. So we wanted to give
But it's also going to take a substantial amount of time.
Yes, and she's going to have to pay the $600 or $500 increase.
You have to pay your taxes, and then if they find in your favor.
So we felt that if we could get to the city council and we could get to the assessor, maybe he would look at some of the other abatements in a different way. That was part of our reason for doing it. I had talked to the prior assessor, Bob Allard, and I had asked him his process, and he said, we absolutely would go out if there were discrepancies. Well, he's refusing to go out, and I don't understand that. So I wanted to alert the council. We also wanted to alert the council to the fact that Assessor Ford's property had devalued by, that he had assessed his property value down $156,000, a 20% decrease in property value on the home that he bought, and he actually valued his property at lower than what he paid for it in June of 2010. Now, when I called the assessor's office about Lorraine Foster's abatement the first time, I was asked, they said, when you filed your abatement, did you give us property values? I said, yes. Well, I'm sure they were for 2010. I said, no, they weren't. We knew we had to do property values as of prior to January 2010.
Yeah, they're 1 year in arrears.
So I don't understand how an assessor is able to go in and value his property lower than what he paid in 2010. It seems like there's an ethics issue here, that there's a conflict of interest. We have requested that the city council provide an independent person, an independent authority to go in and look at his property, and maybe some of City Hall, City Council, maybe it's time for some of the city people that are up there to have independent evaluations done rather than to be done by the assessor's office. I don't know, but it's a request.
Well, it's a citizen's request. Citizen's requests ought to be looked at, and you deserve an answer, and whether the assessor places his own value on his own property. He'd be the final voice on that because he has to sign off on the value of property, because all of this has to be approved by the Department of Revenue, local assessment division. So all of this has to be sent to Boston, and then they have to approve these values. So there are supposed to be some checks and balances, but any citizen has a right to challenge. As far as ethics questions go, if there's an ethics question, it should be answered. We don't want stigmas placed on people. We don't want anyone walking around with it. I don't know, maybe you know as a realtor, whether or not if there's a sale in the year of the assessment, is that sale the value placed?
You're not supposed to. You're supposed to go back.
Everything's supposed to go back to the previous year as of January 1st.
If you submit an abatement with something from the current year, they'll deny it.
Yep, absolutely denied.
So I don't see how...
The rules are the rules, and the rules should be
right.
the same for everybody. That's all
right.
I know.
That's what we're hoping for.
That's what we're hoping for.
What kind of response did you get from the mayor and council?
Very, very little. A very minimal response. What would you say?
Well, I think that we were received well.
Yes, I would say that.
I would say that they were very attentive. They listened to what the speakers had to say. There were promises of, getting back to us and looking into things, but the proof is going to be in the pudding.
Was it referred somewhere? Did it go to the manager? Was it referred to the a subcommittee?
It wasn't referred anywhere, which surprised me, but they did say the assessor is coming in next week because he's showing off his new software program, whatever that means. But they didn't say we'll address these issues next week, but we will be there to try to get the issues
So what
addressed.
did they do with your petition? Did they file it?
We don't know.
I asked for them. Yeah, I said, I'm giving you, I have an action needed list. I have this list, and I'm assuming you're going to refer this to a commissioner, give this to someone, and these are the issues I'd like answered. But I never got that. They called time on me, and I never got a... Well,
and there was no motion from the floor because by Robert's rules, they have an obligation to either file the petition, which is throw it away, deny the petition, which is to deny it, and or refer a petition to either the city manager or finance committee, but they have to do something with it. It can't stand in limbo.
Did you hear them say they were going to do anything?
I'm just interested to know where it would be.
Well, I think there were different responses for your different action items.
Okay.
Okay, so I know...
It might have been referred to multiple places, like the city manager.
Right.
If it went to the assessor, it'd have to go to the manager to go to the assessor, because the council has no authority over this assessor.
What I will tell you is that Thomas Seidelis,
Yep, he's the chief financial officer,
came up after.
Okay.
He didn't even know we were on the agenda.
All right,
He heard it downstairs.
he's a very straight, honorable guy. I can tell you that about Tom Seidelis.
So he came afterwards and spoke with me, and then he spoke with the two people whose listings we had given as part of action needed.
Okay.
That the square footage had gone up, were there. So he spoke with both of them and promised that he would get back to them today.
He's a straight up guy. I can tell you that from whatever knowledge I have, and I've known Tom Seidelis for a long time, and
but
it's not a public endorsement, but he's a straight shooter, and I have a lot of faith and confidence that he's going to do what he can do legally.
He talked to Lorraine, and what the bottom line is, somebody is going to come out and remeasure her property.
Well, it should be
and
anyway.
That's what they should have done.
Well, every
in the first
citizen should have a
place.
right to do that. And
Yes.
if they're wrong, they're wrong.
And if
We
they're
all
wrong,
make mistakes.
That's right.
And let's not,
And that's what was so. That was, his attitude and the fact that he refused to come out. That was so wrong.
But I'm hearing from you. Obviously what you are telling us, and I have no reason to disbelieve it. I haven't heard from the assessor's actions on this. He certainly would have a right to call us and participate and tell us his side of it if he so wishes to do. But I will say this, that public office is public office, and every one of the people, whether elected or appointed, have an obligation to respond to citizens' requests and be upfront about it and be honest about it. And certainly the assessor has an obligation to go out when challenged, to look at the property, to do a first-hand look at the property, to measure property if there's an error, You can't do that by a computer board.
That's right.
You can't do that by a photography.
And so that was one of our reasons
Yeah.
for going, was that if there is a living space issue, especially in any abatements that are filed, that they should go out and look at those houses.
Yeah, that's absolutely. When you file an abatement, I mean, before they deny an abatement or approve an abatement, they ought to certify that what your request has some reasonable cause here. And it shouldn't be off the top of your head that you just decide, well, we have in the computer that you have 2,400 square feet
And
of
he
living
was
space.
adamant. I talked to him too.
Well-
He would not consider going out to see her property. So then the other piece that we are concerned, as should every homeowner in Worcester, is as they're doing this reassessment, what is it? And how are they assessing values?
Yeah, well, the law is pretty explicit in how they can do this. So they don't even have leeway into determining. The law is very, very clear. The classification amendments that were passed, it's a law, as you well know as a realtor. This is standard throughout 351 cities and towns. The assessor has an obligation to assess based on, comparable sales in a neighborhood, based on values of those sales in like houses and like properties, and condition of a home can play a role, obviously, because that's a value. All of that plays a value. But there's very strict criteria to how you get to those
But then
values.
how did Lorraine's house, if there's
I
strict
have no
criteria,
idea.
all of a sudden go up 1,000 square feet?
I have no
America
idea.
Mash's went up 1,000 square feet.
At first we thought maybe there was a data feed problem.
Yes.
Well, they got a new program, so I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know
but-
if it's
And
up and
there
running.
may be some kind of logical explanation.
Well, not
But
according
we
to
don't know
the
it.
assessor.
Well, I'm going to
That's-
tell you. I will tell you this, and then we're going to break this, and then happy to have you guys come back at some point when you get some more information, because I have to break this. If this thing doesn't get out there where people have confidence in the program, all hell is going to break loose here at some point, as it did in 1974. Was the last time there was a near revolution in the city of Worcester by values placed specifically on residential properties. And it's been a long time since then, but we're going through another revaluation. People have seen their values plummet. They've seen their cost of living go up. The cost of taxes go up. I don't think there's a lot of happy campers living around. So if there's going to be a value question, the city better make sure it's on top of their game, because it'll be challenged.
And it needs to be consistent and
Yeah.
fair to
It has to be
every
consistent.
single-
I will pay my fair share.
That's right.
I just want to make it consistent with everybody else in my neighborhood and anyone else, connected or not connected. I mean, as I said, I've been out there. I've never asked for a special favor, and I don't expect to get one. Why should I?
Jordan, the other piece is that if they're going to reevaluate properties, when will you know, as a citizen, will you get to know in October what your value is going to be so you can plan for the next year?
Well, I would hope. See, the way it was done, as I said, I'm being redundant here, but the way it was done last time they did a full fair, well, no, that's not the way it was done. I have to correct myself. I would hope that the city would send out a preliminary notification, specifically if the tax values are going up on people, so there's some impact.
That's
because
what
you
I'm
have a very
hoping,
short
too.
period of time with your tax bill. You only have, I think, 30 days to pay your
Right.
tax bill, and you only have 28 days after that, or 30 days after that to file abatements.
No, it's the same.
Oh, it's the same. Oh, that's right. You have to pay your tax
Do-
bill and then file
and
your
fi-
abatement.
and file the abatement
So,
by
I mean,
the
you don't
same
have a
day.
lot of time to play around with this thing, and then if they deny, then you have to go into the appellate tax board, and maybe by the time I'm 83, we'll get an answer to this thing. I don't know. I'm almost there. I'm pushing the envelope. You and I are going to be able to dance together before this thing's over. So I don't know at whose birthday, but we'll dance anyway. But anyway, yeah, there's some criteria, and I think again, the mayor, the council, and the manager, the assessor, all of these people, Tommy Zadelis, all of these people really should think about, getting some notification out there, giving people an opportunity to come down with a preliminary assessment on their property. You don't have to set a tax rate. That's not always possible until the certification comes in from the State Department of Revenue. But certainly a value
Exactly.
is already ascertained, and I think it would be well thought by the city. It wouldn't be overly costly to do. To send out a preliminary assessed value of your property and give everyone an opportunity to come down, look at the other properties in the neighborhood. It would be a very good public relations way of doing it. And if you have an argument with the values, that's the time that you'd want to have it done before your tax bill comes out. As a
I think people
preliminary.
would appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's a way. So that's a suggestion out there to council land, and they monitor the show, and they listen to the show, and they all deny it, but they do. So all I have to do is insult one of them. You'll see how fast the phone rings. But anyway, that's how it's done. So thanks for doing what you're doing, because I think you're getting conversation here in the community. It's critical that people have input, whether you're right, wrong, or indifferent. It's really important that people participate. And thanks for being so exact with everything. My God, I'm not calling you on the phone because she takes notes all over the place, or notes. So, but anyway, thanks for doing what you're doing, and this is the advocacy that I was hoping that the Seven Hills would do, and I think it's just great. So, thanks for sharing some time with us, and we'll have you back up here again.
Thank you so much.
All right, you be well. All right, we're going to take a little break, and we'll be back. And don't forget, it's a road report now. We're going to talk about potholes, okay? We'll be right back.